Welcome everyone. Today I am making a neon sign for my dive bar for Necromunda. So this technique obviously works with any miniature neon sign. It doesn't have to be specifically for Necromunda or even a dive bar. So I'm going to introduce you to my new favourite hobby, Fang. It is this EL wire. You may have heard of it. I haven't heard of it. And this thing blew my mind. I thought, it's just another eBay thing. It's just going to be pants. Nope. Pretty happy with it. So most neon wires aren't able to be cut and still work. And fibre optics only glow at the tip, whereas this stuff glows all the way around. So back in the good old days of the first Fast and the Furious film, when neon lights were rife underneath teenagers' cars, God knows when I was in college, way back, they were everywhere. Thankfully all those people have been taken out the back and shot now, so neons shouldn't be underneath cars. All those people are long gone, but technology's come slightly further. Now we have smaller neon wires, and these are flexible and great for the hobby. I was thinking it's not going to be too bright. It's it's just going to be a bit of a naff thing. But this was about, I think it was about £4. I thought for £4 I'll give it a go. So that is not bad. So let's see if I can. There we go. Look at that. Obviously flexible. Looks pretty good. Comes in a vast variety of colours. This particular one has several modes. So sorry if you're photosensitive, epileptic or anything. They're gonna go! And of course, being flexible, you can spell anything you want with it. So I'm gonna make a nice neon sign. So where do you begin? Where do you begin indeed? So, make yourself a pattern on a piece of paper. Draw out what you want your bar or neon sign to be called. Me, I like a nice scummy dive. So I'm about halfway through. I'll show you what I've done so far, and I may do a video on it in future, the finished product. So this is my Necromunda dive bar. So I've got my tacos there on a plate, loads of bottles, mugs, vomit bucket, as you do. There's the lid, because I don't want to glue it fully on. I might do in future, but I'll do a video on it to show you guys how to make it, or how I made it. And the little fun things on it in a bit more detail. So I want a neon sign on the side. The reason I want it on the side is if I still want to stack my shipping containers on the top, I can do. It'll fit neatly on the side. So this scummy dive, I'm calling it the Muff Dive. Yes, I know, I'm a child, but that's just me. So on a piece of paper, I'm going to draw my design. So I'm calling it the Muff Dive. So this is the rough layout I want. So the old motel signs, I'm going to have the writing going down like so. I know this is a bit more tricky because it's going to be a bit thinner here, and even more tricky, a arrow pointing this way. It's not the neatest, not my best handiwork, but that's roughly what I want. So I'm going to imagine there's going to be a sign like this. Maybe it even kicks out a little bit for the arrow, and that's going to be on the right hand side of my bar. So that is probably going to be glued there. I do have a few stanchions I could put, little braces, things like that. Even if my shipping container comes alongside here, I could put a couple of them up like that. Point of contact there, and all the way along that face. So it should adhere to the side of the shipping container. So to get these neon signs to work like that on both sides, I'm going to have to make either a box section of plastic card, or the back's going to look like a horrible mess. So I've got to decide if I want Muff Dive to be written on both sides of the plastic card, or just box it in so you cannot see the back. So what I'll do first is cut out this piece on a bit of plastic card, feed the LE wire through there, work my way around there and go out there, and drill 2 tiny little holes here and here, for example, here and here, and use tiny wires, fuse wire, to keep it in shape. And the same here as well, maybe a little hole, little hole, little hole for the fuse wire, big hole in there and there to feed the LE wire through. So let's say it will come up through there, in through there, out through there, in through there, out through there. Now I'm not quite sure how to do the F's, but I will work it out. I will work it out. Maybe through there, little holes for the wires, through there, through there, through there, for example, and then come out, plus card there, do the same trick again, and I'll give it a go and see what it looks like. If I have enough, which I doubt it very, very much, I will do front and back, and I only really want the front to be lit up anyway. It's just something a bit fun. For the sake of £4, I think it will really jazz up my dive bar. It just looks cool, so I'm going to give it a go and show you how I get on with it. So I've got my trusty plastic card, quite thick, because I want it to be fairly strong, because I'm likely to knock this thing, kick it over, stamp on it, you name it, so I want it quite sturdy. Plus, never chuck anything away. I've got piles of the same thickness plastic card I've had for years. Rule number 1, never chuck anything away. So that's the rough guideline. So that's the front, that's the back. Obviously I've marked up the rest for the thickness. I am making it slightly bigger than this unit. Of course there are smaller battery packs and things like that you could use. I was even half tempted to drill the inside of the actual bar itself at the bottom for it to fit in. It is slightly thicker, but then I can always grind down this to make it fit. That's fine, but I do worry about the structural integrity of this thing, because I took the screw off the back for the clip, so you could like clip it to a belt or whatever you want to do. I'm guessing you use this for going raving like all the cool kids do. But taking the screw out does make it a lot more easy for this thing to just fall to bits. So what I'm going to do is actually just keep it in the sign itself, seeing as I'm only doing one side of the sign to make it lit up. And then I'll just pull this thing out, press the button and slide it back in every time I want to use it. So that's the general idea. So what I'm going to do now is drill the holes there, 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 there. Oh, not there. There. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. There, 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 there. Not there. Now this is the bit that's going to be fiddly. I'm not sure how well that's going to work. We'll give it a go. I don't need to do it there, Ross, you numpty. The E is going to be the most fiddly bit. So I don't need to do it there. I will need to do it there and there. That might be a bit too small. I'll try it and see. I might reshape the word dive bigger, because to get a wire there to there, pin it, and there to there, you think how thick this wire is. It's, what kind of thickness are we talking? We're talking about, in millimeters, I guess it's about 4 mil, maybe 3 mil holes. and that's going to be too close, I would say. So probably have to redesign that. Probably being a bit too keen. It's my first sign. Probably been pushing my luck a bit too much, and it's going to go horribly wrong. So I'm going to redesign the dive. That's why we use pencils, people. So the word dive is bigger. The most awkward bit is probably going to be that piece there, but still not as bad as it once was. And the arrow is going to be a lot more simplistic, literally just like that. So I will try my luck drilling this and see what it looks like. If in doubt, there's always more plastic card. It's relatively inexpensive. So something like this. It looks like moths have been eating it, the plastic card. And then you start feeding in the wire. I'm going from the bottom, because when it finishes at the top, that's where I want the top of my battery pack to be. So yeah, you just keep feeding it through as if you were sewing. Yes, because I do a lot of that. Yeah, just keep feeding it through the holes. Hopefully drill the right size diameter. Try not to kink the wire too much, I guess. And it's going to look like a mess before it gets better. So I'm going to pull that one through. Obviously I'm going to have my bit of wire just there, tidying that up, my little bit of fuse wire. So rather than painting it all the way up, assembling it and then realizing you don't have enough, it's always nice to feed it through roughly, as I have here. I've got as far as the U, and I know I've got a load more left over for the M, so I've got nothing to worry about. So I know it's a bit finicky, pull it all out and do it again, but it's better that than assemble everything, paint it up and realise it doesn't fit, or you've run out, or you've drilled too many holes. So pull it all out, paint it up, assemble the front before sticking it on. So the front of the box, the muff dive as you would, and then stick it to the rest of the plastic card box that you've made up. So this is my plastic card box for my controller and obviously the front of my sign. Make sure it fits nicely in, allowing you a bit of room for wires as well. Of course, like I said, if you can find a controller that's a bit skinnier, that would be perfect, so you wouldn't have to have such a chunky box. Giggity. But, you know, it's looking fairly industrial on the side, but isn't that what we really want? Necromunda, industrial, that goes on the top. Does it look out of place? Is that a bit too big? That's what you want to ask yourself. I want it to be a big neon sign, so of course I want it to be fairly noticeable. If it was too slender, maybe the high scum would notice. Like I said, if the box was slightly smaller, I could fit it inside of the counter of the worktop. So with all that being said, I've decided to have a bit of a scale reimagining. In other words, that thing is way too big. Yeah, it's the size of the battery pack and that's great and everything. But there's got to be another way to make that sign a bit smaller because it's sticking out quite a bit from my bar. So, 2 AA batteries are fairly big, right? And they're 3 volts. But if I was to solder a 3 volt battery in, like you get in a key fob, or if you've never checked out before, Tabletop War James has done an amazing video on how to make laser fences for Necromunda, and he's got these little click on and off key fob battery holders, I guess you call them, and they're exactly the right size. Now I picked one of those holders up not too long ago, and what I've done is, so this is my bar halfway through, I have attached it in there, so you can't really see, the lighting is not fantastic. There we go, try that. That there is a battery holder, and you can see I've soldered in the actual plug itself. So if I do that, and where's the little on button? Should find a little on button in there somewhere, Ross, with your fat fingers. That should be lit up twice, pulsing 3 times, fast pulse. So I've got the little battery pack there, which I can flick out because I've hot glued a magnet in place. So I'll just pop that in there, and if I need to take it out, I'll just flick it out, and then I can swap the battery out. So I'll do it off camera. All you need is a little hook or something. I'm using a knife. This is going to be great. Lose a finger. But it's just magnetized in. You can see I've just sprayed it so it hides a little bit more. But all it is a little battery holder like that. CR2032 is the number of the battery. So I just popped it in there because I didn't want to glue the battery in place permanently. I know it's going to burn through batteries because I'm going to use this thing quite a lot. So yeah, I've got the little controller there, which I've cut the base of the bar out so it can sit in, and hollowed the actual rustic looking bar out, which are actually containers, ammunition containers. And yeah, and that's a better size, I believe. So it's going to be roughly there, whereas before it was probably half the width again, nearly half the height again. So I haven't got to worry about putting a battery pack in there. And my muff dive sign had to be smaller, so I didn't put an arrow on it anymore. But I have got the actual muff dive drilled out, ready to G.I. Joe. So I'll spray that up. And I thought it would be cooler if the wire went through a pipe into the sign, which obviously I'll spray up, prime up. I'll paint it all up before putting the neon sign in there. So that will be over the wire at some stage. I'll paint the sign up, then I'll feed the wiring after I finish painting my bar. There will be a video on how I did my bar coming up soon, but this is the one for the muff dive sign itself. So a little bit airbrushing on the boxing for the sign. Next, a bit of Rhinox oxide, Rhinox hide even, Rhinox oxide. Just made it paint up, there we go. And I'm going to sponge just a little bit here and there on the sign to make it look slightly beaten on the back. So a little bit there, a bit in the middle, a bit there maybe. Not too mad. Just like that. I'll do the same on the front. And once it's dry, I will start weathering it to make it look like rust is running down those chips. So your electric box should be something like that. I've fed the wire through the bracket because I just thought it looked cooler and I wanted to hide it to make it look like all the wiring is contained in the box itself. And then when you've got the board with the holes drilled in it and the chipping effects, the weathering effects, then you start feeding it through. So if you wanted to, you can have a little pencil mark to work out where you want the lettering. And on the bends of the lettering, I will drill 2 small holes either side to feed the fuse wire in. So this real super thin wire, just to hold the lettering in place. So yeah, with the M, for example, I would go and leave myself enough to do that, and then feed it back through the hole. Okay, so you can see where I've come out of the plastic card there, and the fuse wire has bent there and there and there to keep it fairly tight to the plastic card itself. If I used thinner EL wiring, I'm sure there's stuff out there, it would be a lot tighter. I did like a nice curvy muff and lowercase dive. Once again, if the wire was thinner, it would turn a little bit tighter there because I actually drilled the holes even, but it is slightly offset there. But I'm pretty happy with it. Doesn't look too bad. And now you can see my muff dive is lit up. There you go. Flash, flash. So there you have it, how to make your own neon sign. So as you can see, I've sponged some of my favourite Rhinox hide. Just on there, just a tiny little bit sponge with some tweezers, and then teased a little bit of rust, some AK interactive rust there. And I've done that all over the sign, sponging it on the edges so it's nicely beaten up, and a bit more detail on the back. But yeah, you can make your own sign, pretty much any thickness. It doesn't have to be this chunky, but I thought as soon as the rest of the building was going to be thick, I want it to match. But yeah, and you can hide the wiring anywhere. So obviously I've hid the wiring in behind the bar, so I can still access the button to turn it on. So just put my finger behind the bar. Cool. Well, thank you very much for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video, inspired you to make your own sign, possibly a bit neater than mine, but it's the first time I'll be using this stuff. Found it on eBay and I thought, oh, that looks really good. I've got a good idea for that. So I would like to see your versions, and hopefully you can inspire me. And next time, I have a lot of time when you make these builds, you do see things that you could use to improve. And I definitely have learned some stuff. And hopefully I've passed that information on. Okay, stay safe, you wonderful people, and catch you in the next video.